Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Welcome everybody to the Blacks in Technology audio podcast, episode number 32. It is September 10th, 2012. It is exactly 11:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, my co-host tonight is on Pacific Time, so it's only 11:20 his time. Ronnie Hash is broadcasting live with me tonight from California, San Francisco. And we just decided to, we haven't done a podcast in a long time, so decided to just, hop on here and do a impromptu podcast. Blacks in Technology, the site is www.blackintechnology.net. You can also follow us on Twitter at Black in Technology. That's BLKINTECHNOLOGY. We also have a Google Plus page, a LinkedIn page. You can check us out there as well. What's new on Blacks in Technology? New memberships coming in every day. So that's always, we're up to like 643, I think, members now nationwide. Which is pretty impressive feat, I think, just starting out a couple years ago, up to almost 650 members. So shout out to all the new members that have joined recently. Ronnie's IM is on the fritz. I think it's because he's using a Mac.
There you go. And it's 8:20 Pacific time right now. 8:20.
All right. 8:20 out there in sunny California. What else do we have going on? Blacks in Technology Tech Digest hopefully will be launching within a month or two. Got some things rolling there. Shout out to Blair from Blossom Software that's going to be helping us out. He already designed a template. It's going to be helping us out, integrate it into the CMS. To get that rolling. In case you don't know, the Blacks in Technology Tech Digest is going to be a one-of-a-kind. I haven't seen anything yet quite like it. It's going to preview or display articles, tech articles, with all black authors or all black contributors. So all the tech articles that will be written will be written by black contributors. Something that I haven't seen yet. I've seen a lot of gadget sites with, black authors and everything like that, but this is going to be hardcore tech, the nuts and the bolts of technology, engineering, science. We're going to have, people like Henry. He's one of our members. He's going to be writing about, electronics, and then we have, people that's going to be contributing, talking about virtualization, cloud, people talking about open source. So this is going to be the real nuts and bolts of technology that, hardcore techies like to hear. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah, your IM is definitely tripping because it's sent me the same link like 20 times.
Close out the half window.
So that's a big thing that I hope, that we'll be able to launch within, like I said, a couple of months. Be on the lookout for that. Let's see. That thing is still sending. It actually opened up a new tab and started sending in a new tab.
I on your other one, your Gmail, instead of.
Okay. Gotcha.
That will be better.
Gotcha. So what's new in San Francisco?
Well, I've been out here for 6 weeks now. Just started my new company that I'm working for 6 months ago, and they allowed me to stay in Cincinnati to end of July. So now I'm in San Francisco, staying busy. The next couple of weeks I'll be attending a couple of conferences and training classes. I've already went to MongoDB training, which was pretty exciting. Really nice product. I'm using it in a couple of our social networking games. And now next week I'm going to Couch-based training, and the week after that going to the Puppet conference. So I've been staying pretty busy, learning a lot of new things, doing a lot of stuff, mainly integration of our video games into Facebook, using various different technologies, managing our infrastructure within the cloud, so constantly coming up with nice scripts on managing the servers. Pretty much a lot of my scripting here lately has been in Python and using the Boto framework, which is a framework geared towards the cloud APIs like AWS. It can even talk to Rackspace, Cloud Stack, etc. So I've just tested it mainly against the AWS stuff. Also,
in case anybody doesn't know, AWS, Amazon Web, is that right?
Yep, Amazon Web Services.
Yeah.
Amazon Cloud. Also, another framework that I like with the Python set of tools is Fabric, which allows you to create your scripts and send commands distributedly across all your nodes in parallel. Instead of doing for loops and only executing one at a time, now you can send commands out in parallel that can hit hundreds of servers at once. Pretty nice framework.
And what's the name of that again?
It's Fabric, Fabric. It's another Python framework. So between Boto and Fabric frameworks, you can do quite a bit with scripting and managing your server infrastructure. I'm also testing out another tool called Rundeck, Rundeck, which is almost a distributed type of command, but it's through a nice little pretty web console. Typically what you see people use is Jenkins and Rundeck together to get a nice deployment type of platform for your application. So you set up a project within Jenkins, right, and you can pull your code from SVN, GitHub, whatever your repository
Hold on, real quick. I think I found the problem to the whole
Mr. Messenger nightmare.
Yeah.
I had a Windows client, right?
I had Instant Messenger open on my laptop. And I think that's what was causing it on my Linux laptop. So let's see if I think that's what the cause was.
That would make sense because it's trying to do the whole OTR encryption part, and it's getting confused by who's receiving the message and stuff. Probably thought it was some sort of man-in-the-middle attack.
Yeah. I think that cleared it up.
Yeah,
so that was my fault.
Yeah. So I've been pretty busy playing with a lot of new tools right now, working on a platform to manage the life cycle of the infrastructure and application. Most companies now want this continuous deployment, what they call it, right, where deployments can happen all day, every day, continue to deploy to your infrastructure. So you have to set up tools and things to manage and support that, and automation is the key to that, right? So from being able to quickly deploy to your server, spin up new instances on the fly based on load, and also monitoring and whole nine yards. So I've been staying pretty busy. Learning a lot of new things.
Sounds like a lot of new things going on. The whole CouchDB, MongoDB, that falls in line with the whole NoSQL database, or what's going on, right?
Yeah, it's just a different type of way of accessing your data, right? It's not like your relational DB type of style of database. A lot of the relational logic now lies within the app code itself, right? And then how quickly you're able to access the data because how it's stored in memory. And it's coming a long way. You know, you've seen a lot more applications, web apps using it, but I don't think it's quite there completely. Newer versions keep getting better and better. One of the issues in MongoDB I felt that was kind of holding it back, and with the latest release, they kind of solved it a little, which they had this locking condition where it does a global lock of the whole entire collection. So anything that's within the collection, which you say collection is sort of your database, right? And documents are like your tables and stuff. So when it does a global lock at the collection level, if you have a lot of people trying to read or write to that collection at one time, you start seeing all these locks, right? So the latest version of it, they're going to be doing a lock at the document level. And to me, I think they need to get a little bit more granular than that. So CouchBase is out, and at first, there really was almost two types of NoSQL databases. But now you have CouchBase, which they released in 2.0 here soon. I'm actually been able to be part of the beta program of that. And with 2.0, they're introducing the whole document type of style of NoSQL as well. So they're going to really be able to compete with MongoDB. And with that said, they are able to do granular locks. So they kind of one-up MongoDB. Not only are they stepping in their space of how they was doing it, but they actually one-up them with being able to do granular locks, which will not cause the locking issues I've seen with MongoDB. Another cool thing about CouchBase is way easier to set up. I mean, it's ridiculous, crazy how easy it is to set up these NoSQL databases too,
really?
And to get going. Yeah. And what's pretty cool is typically when you manage a application with MySQL and stuff, and if you have new tables and all that, you have to sometimes, when you altering the tables and stuff, sometimes you have to take a maintenance window to manipulate that table structure.
Yeah, update the schema.
Update the schema. But with these NoSQL type of databases, it creates documents and collections on the fly. So if it's not there, it creates it right then and there. And that was pretty nice as well. Yeah.
I thought I was reading that somewhere. I can't even remember where. I was actually reading that that functionality of being able to dynamically add, sort of like tables and things like that in the database.
Yep, if it's not there, it creates it, but the pitfall to that can be, too, if you mistype what you want your document to be called, right?
Yeah.
And then it creates it. You start storing data in there, then you come to find out, or you accidentally change it. I mean, it definitely takes some thought when you're designing, like with any database type of thing, takes a lot of thought in how you're going to design your structure of it, right? And they have some best practices out there, what to store in it, and hands down, they'll tell you something that just belongs in a MySQL database, right? A relational style database.
So what do you guys specifically? Go ahead.
Some people kind of find a way to use both. You know, they will, and we have that sort of set up, right, where we actually have stuff that's stored in Mongo in MySQL or in Couchbase and MySQL. Then to the flip side of that, where if you don't need to store information at all, where it doesn't need to be persistent and you just want everything stored in memory, there's stuff like Memcache, right? Which Couchbase actually acquired them. So if you just need something quickly storing stuff and you don't mind if that data gets flushed out, that's another option you can use within a Couchbase suite of tools. But if you want it more persistent, then you go with the CouchDB end of things. But if you want stuff more long-term or more structured type of stuff, you may want to go look at MySQL. And just, again, when you're designing your app and you're designing your data tier, you kind of now start figuring out exactly where the data should sit. Right? If you're doing a lot of writes and reads, you may want it in within NoSQL style database. If you're just doing writes to be stored, but you don't need to access it quickly, MySQL may be your guy for that. So it just really depends right now.
So what exactly are you guys like specifically using these NoSQL databases to store? What type of information are you storing in there?
Data, so we using some player data. When I say player data is just player information, your player ID and stuff like that. I don't want to get too in details, but that's what some of the things we use it for is player data. Yeah.
Gotcha. Sounds pretty interesting. I've always, wanted to get more into the Python side of things. I just haven't. I'm failing miserably at at getting into it. It's really the key to I guess learning, programming is finding something to program, finding a project or something. That's really been, my downfall is trying to find something to code.
Yeah, and that's another new thing. Sorry.
No, I was just saying I don't use it every day. So, something like that you don't use every day, you kind of, it tends to, you either forget about it or it just goes a long time without doing anything with it. So you kind of lose interest in it. So, yeah.
Yep. And I was going to say that's another new thing that's coming out with the newer version of CouchDB is it's going to allow you to do JSON style versus the blob. Like with MongoDB, they had JSON style how you read and write the data. It's in a JSON type of format.
Yeah.
And MongoDB was more in a blob format, and now the new version of Couchbase is going to support JSON as well, and I think one other style. So, Couchbase is definitely stepping it up. I'm excited about going to the Couch training next week and the conference. But to your point, just trying to find things to do to challenge yourself and learning to script and program and stuff. You just gotta. What's helped me is just trying to find a problem that needs to be solved. And I hate doing manual stuff, so I'm always looking for a way to automate it, right? Instead of, sometimes people take the approach, well, you know what, it's manual, I just hurry up and do it. But if I know I'm going to have to repeat and do it several more times, I'd much rather spend the extra time up front to write a script to do it and do that. And so, it's definitely proven to help having that skill set of being able to script or program something to get a job done.
Yeah, definitely. What was I going to talk? Oh yeah, Puppet. You're going to be. I've been, kind of messing around with Puppet a little bit. I haven't fully mastered it. I've done a couple of things with it, more or less just, trying to test it out and, seeing what I can do with it. But you're going to be taking Puppet certification. I think this is the first certification of its kind, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm going to have the opportunity to be one of the first ones to sell it, so that's pretty exciting. I mean, I've been using...
Way to be optimistic.
No, I've been using Puppet for a little bit now, and mainly the open source side of things, so I'm trying to learn the big differences between the enterprise version and the open source version, because I'm pretty sure the certification is going to be more geared towards an enterprise one. That's what they want people certified in. That's what they want enterprises using. And there is some pluses and minuses with going with the enterprise version. Enterprise interface for the dashboard is a lot better. I can tell you that already. Going to have to do a lot more manual stuff.
I haven't used the dashboard yet. I haven't even gotten that installed. I've done it all from command lines. Now, real quick, before we get into, the dashboard and everything like that, let's go over a little bit of what Puppet is. It's basically a configuration manager that can pretty much manage all your configurations for your. Now, right now, all I know is it does. Does it do Windows, or is it's just Linux, right?
I hear it does limited Windows. I have not really delved too deep onto the Windows side, and
gotcha.
Nor do I hope I will have the opportunity to do it, because I don't want to manage Windows as a server. Nothing against Windows guys or anything. I really like Linux, and I find it easier to manage and set up. But I hear they do have things that will allow you to manage your Windows environment, but I'm not sure exactly what it all does, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I read a little bit of something about that, and I'm not 100% sure, what it's going to manage when it does manage it. I don't think it's going to do nearly as much as, as a Linux server. So I'm pretty sure, the functionality is going to be pretty limited when it comes to Windows. I think it might, do something simple like add users, something like that, but I don't think it's going to be anything pretty.
I'm saying, honestly, in a big company, typically your Windows team is different than your Linux, Unix team. So they're going to have two different tools to manage their environment anyway. Yeah, ideally, most companies would like to have that unified control and console, but still there's enough of a difference between the two operating systems to keep it separate, because each team has control over the environment, So
Now let's talk about a little bit about how it does configuration management. From what I've been able to, from what I've used it, it's pretty much. I mean, it seems like there's two ways. You can either do the configurations, kind of locally. You can store. It's pretty much you store these configurations, and I think in Puppet it's like a file extension of .pp, and it's almost kind of like it's built on Ruby, and it's kind of like a language in itself, sort of, and you kind of build these configurations out, and then you have the server kind of take these configuration files and then apply the configuration to the server. And you can have these on a centralized server called the Puppet Master, and then each one of the nodes actually reaches out, grabs this configuration from it, and downloads the configuration files and applies it to its own system. That's what I've, from what I've been using. Although I haven't set up a Puppet Master as of yet. I've done everything locally on the computer, just to get a grasp of the actual setup of the configuration files.
Yeah. One thing I will recommend to anyone who wants to learn Puppet is download the Puppet Learning VM, right? And with that, you don't have to really learn how to actually install Puppet or anything. Off the bat, you have Puppet Enterprise installed, and then they have a mini little course you can go through with learning how to use Puppet, how to write manifest, apply manifest, and get a node added to the Puppet Master in itself so it can manage that node. So that's a good way to get started, is downloading the Puppet Learning VM. It's free, and you get logged right in. You get the Puppet Enterprise dashboard. And I think with Puppet Enterprise, you get so many free hosts that you can manage, right? So if you're a small company and you're only managing like 5 to 10 Linux servers, I think you should be covered, right? And you get all the enterprise features for free.
Gotcha.
And I think you can actually even add users into the dashboard under the Puppet Enterprise free version. So that's a good way to get started. And like you mentioned, each person implemented a little bit differently, meaning whether you're going to have a master or no master. There's pros and cons to both. I like the whole master approach, so let's talk about that a little. So pretty much on the master, you're storing all your configs and setup on that master. Then all the nodes check into the master and get its instructions, whether it's to add a user to that server, whether it's to install a package. So what people would do is create what we call modules and classes, where I would say, okay, here's the instructions on how to install Apache, what configs to apply to it, and what file structure I want. From the whole 9 yards on how you want to configure your web server, you can do within Puppet. And you can define which nodes should get this installed, because you may have different groups that have their web servers configured differently. So
now, real quick, when I was saying configuration files, you said the correct name for it, which is actually manifest. So Puppet uses these collection of basically this configuration file, which is basically called a manifest, and it applies the manifest to that server. So go ahead.
Yep. So you have these manifests, which have these instructions on how to configure that server. And you can parameterize these modules where if I have Apache, I can just have a set of instructions on install Apache. Then I may have a group of servers that I want to get a specific config where I can pull in, install Apache, but then apply these different set of configs on this server. So it's a very powerful system. You can get pretty granular on what you want installed on servers or a group of servers. What I've done was how I define the groups of servers to install within Amazon is by using their security groups. The later version of Puppet automatically installs some of the AWS metadata into it, the same information that you can pull. If you own a local instance of AWS, there's a curl command from the command line that when you point it to the 169.0.0, I think maybe .1 address, you can pull the metadata from that instance on what's stored in AWS, like IP information and security group and stuff like that. So what Puppet does when you install the agent on that instance, it's able to pull that data into what they call factor, which are facts about that instance. So when it checks into the Puppet master, you can use facts on how to work with that system. So I would say I have a case statement within my manifest saying case security group equals whatever you name it, do X, Y, Z. And also the manifest supports conditional statements, so you can have your if and else stuff within Puppet as well in the manifest. So it's definitely a pretty slick system if you want to be able to do rinse and repeat setups on servers and you don't want to have to think about everything that you did down the road, or if you want to have some sort of consistency with your setup. But then again, that's not the only configuration management system out there. You have stuff like Chef, which they call their stuff recipes. You have Chef Engine. So pretty much you just have to pick a configuration management system and go with it. And learn, each one has their limitations on it. So a good thing to do is to find what it is that you want within your configuration management system and see which tool is going to best work for you and learn it. The funny thing about Chef and Puppet is they so much alike. Anything that you can pretty much do in Puppet, you can do in Chef. They both are written in Ruby. One thing about the recipes, it's more Ruby-like. So if you're a hardcore Ruby person and you really understand and like the language, writing a recipe is going to make sense right off the bat. If you're not really heavy into programming or anything, I think the Puppet manifests are a little easier to write, and you don't have to be a scripting guru for it. So that's just my take on those. CF Engine I haven't used in a while, but it was lacking a lot of things the last time I checked when I was comparing it against Puppet and Chef. So.
Gotcha.
But you raised me back when I was. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say what one of the things that I like about the way that Puppet is structured, and I'm pretty sure Chef is probably structured the same way as. So these manifests contain these resources. So within these resources, you have like certain attributes. So you'll have like a file resource, and in these attributes, you can say whether or not this file is present. Exactly what this file is. Is it a link or whatever? And you can have the same thing for the package, and you can ensure that the package is installed. You can ensure that it's the latest package. You can, one of the attributes is like you can name the package. Same thing with like service, and there's other resources as well. But one of the cool things I like is that they have like this notify, and they also have this subscribe attribute. So you can actually say like within Puppet, you can say like for instance if you're what's something that may need to be restarted in order for the configuration to take effect. Something like SSH or something. Apache config. So you can then basically have that service, or say for instance that file, your Apache config file, and say for instance if you make a change, it can actually notify the service to restart, so that actual config file can, so that Apache will restart and actually apply the settings that you just changed within Apache config file. So, it like Ronnie said, it's very, very robust. You can do quite a bit of stuff with it. And also, like you said, it has, you can have conditional statements, case statements, things like that. Like I said, I'm still learning a lot about it, but pretty robust, pretty cool, pretty slick program.
Yep, it's definitely making my job a lot easier. I can tell you that, because I can set up my template or how I want something configured, and it just runs with it. Now, when I have autoscale set up, which we do within the cloud, as nodes come online and offline, it just gets its configuration. I don't have to think twice about anything. I set up a little alert to let me know autoscaling is happening, and it just works. Then I have it set up to the point where I have a nice little Python script that checks AWS and see if there's a new instance in my app tier. And if it finds a new instance in my app tier, it will rewrite my HA proxy config, drop it in Puppet, all my HA proxy load balancer servers, and say, hey, there's a new config. It picks it up, drops and restart HA proxy so it can get the new config and recognize the new servers. And, it's just awesome. Everything's just automated. You sit back and look at it go, right? So it's pretty slick. So you can do a lot of amazing things nowadays. And that goes to our earlier discussions probably within the last year or two we've had about that more than an admin, right? Where it's no more you just sitting there managing servers manually. You have to kind of now know how to script stuff. You have to learn how to work or integrate with the developers a lot more to be able to help them troubleshoot their code on the infrastructure and work with the DBAs. It's funny, my team right now don't have a DBA, so I'm learning more about databases than what I've ever wanted to or intended to. I've written apps and created simple schemas and stuff, but now I have to get down to the tuning level of getting the MySQL config files tweaked so it can run more efficient in the VMs and all kind of stuff. But this is moving into a new a new topic, more along the DevOps. Exactly. That is and actually as I read more and more about DevOps, it's actually not a new thing, but it's just becoming more and more, I guess, prevalent in the industry. And pretty much it's like, if you're going to be dealing with the cloud and dealing with virtualization and dealing with, high volumes of, servers and things like that are bursting out into the cloud, you definitely have to, take or almost become like, with DevOps minded. So yeah, that the whole thing of working with the programmers was basically what development and operations meet. Yeah, so I want to, which the funny thing about it, to me, DevOps are really highly technical architects too, because you have to know the whole scope as well, right? You have to understand the application. You have to be able to deploy the application in a high availability distributed type of setup. You have to understand the servers. You have to understand if you're working in a local setup, you have to understand the network that your infrastructure is sitting on. So when you're troubleshooting, you can pinpoint where you may see poor performance. You have to understand the storage, right? If you're, again, in the local setup and you're getting a lot of slow writes, you have to start to understand IOPS and stuff like that. You just have to understand a whole lot now being an engineer or DevOps guy, which to me, is definitely your next step into becoming an architect. And you completely understand that whole scope of things. You're in the trenches, you know. A lot of architects, they kind of step away and they just like to write pretty pictures and tell people what technologies they should use, but some of them lose touch of being in the trenches to see what's actually going on. So I can honestly see that there may be a time where architects and DevOps become one thing, right? Because why do you want someone who's just writing pretty pictures and the guy who's in the trenches figure out it's not working and raise concern and you see where I'm going. It's just become less efficient. A lot of companies now are starting to try to want to be more efficient, right? They want to take a lot of the process out, streamline it so things can happen a lot quicker. And it goes back to the whole continuous deployments, which is harder to do when you have more people or more processes in place, you know. So you need your guys to completely understand the full scope to help push things through quickly, help troubleshoot issues and get the information where it needs to go very quickly.
Now, how long do you think before the traditional systems administrator position kind of phases out? Because right now there's still a need for a systems administrator simply because you got a lot of legacy applications, a lot of stuff that's not able to go into the cloud or is not able to be virtualized. And also it's still running on a lot of these, ancient systems as well. And it seems like, more of the DevOps type stuff seems to be more fitted with, with the cloud, with, being able to burst out, if you have your stuff in the private cloud, being able to burst out into something like Amazon or Rackspace. But from stuff that I'm reading and seeing, on the inner tubes, I also see just it actually being not just for the cloud, but some people are actually using it just in their infrastructure, even with physical servers, just bringing those two worlds together as far as configuration management and things like that. But how long do you think before the traditional systems administrator is either just gone or it's going to be less sought after?
That's a good question. It can be the next 10 or 20 years or a little longer. It really depends on the culture of the company. I see companies out here, West Coast and the Bay Area, they've already adopted the whole DevOps type of culture, right? That's who they seek after, guys who can do this. And a lot of slower places in the country may take a little bit more time to adapt because they kind of used to having this whole process, right? And all these different ITIL type of stuff where you have to have 50 meetings before something is approved and these sign-offs, and people complain that I'm not doing this because you didn't do the proper paper request and stuff like that, So I think what moves companies are their bottom lines. And when companies start to see other companies spin up fairly quickly and cranking out new ideas, they're going to want to say either A, like we see now, I need to buy them out, or why can't we do this, right? And if they start to slowly lose market share, and if they start to look at who's heading up their operations, they may say, we can get a new CIO or CTO or whatever who have this experience based on their track record of helping companies crank out these processes. So when you get these new line of CIOs and CTOs in these corporations that are going to say, okay, this is what you're doing wrong. You need guys in here that can do X, Y, Z. But when there's a lot of conservative companies out there still, they have all these processes and procedures. And that's just what happens when you become a big company. They kind of lose touch in their entrepreneurship and you get your 9-to-5 workers, as I call them. They coming in, they doing their job, and that's it. And they put all these processes and procedures in place. Sometimes when they implement stuff like that, it's because they feel they need to correct an issue that happens. But ideally, sometimes they're not really correcting the issue. They're probably making it a lot harder to get stuff done. But so it can be some time, and which is a good thing to our listeners. We know it's coming, so you just get out there and you be ready for it. You start training yourself with that mindset of, hey, either I'm going to go work for a company that's going to challenge me and give me the experience to do what I know the future companies are going to need, and I'm fortunate that I've been able to come out here out west and be a part of some pretty exciting stuff. And if a shift do happens back in the Midwest and I need a different challenge, that may be an opportunity to do that as well. So I think there's still some time, but it's happening, Just like companies are constantly trying to figure out how they're going to make more money, save money, When they feel that they can't save money, they see if they can cut staff and try to make that number look better, right? More efficient operations. And definitely DevOps can make your operations more efficient when you're scripting and automating stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Real exciting stuff, man. I'm definitely trying to improve my skills to get more into the DevOps mindset, because I know, those are going to be skills that are, highly sought after in the marketplace right now. They are. So if you want to be on, the cutting edge of things and doing some real cutting edge type stuff, you definitely have to up your skill set, and then move on into something like that.
Yeah. Another cool product I was going to say I've tested out. It's another cloud-based logging system, similar to, I won't say similar to Splunk, because Splunk was more like on a on-premise, on-site type of setup. I hear that Splunk actually came out with their cloud version called Spark, but it's very limited. But I've been testing out this product called Sumo Logic, SUMOLOGIC, and it's pretty slick as well. And it allows you to have up to so many free hosts and so many megs a day. I think 500 megs a day, which is not much if you're a huge shop, but if you want to just test it out, you can. So how their thing works is they have a web interface that you have access to, but then you will install something called a collector. You can have so many collectors within your network, right? So you install your collector on the server. Then from your collector, you can tell how do you want to collect log information. You can either turn that collector into like a syslog type of deal where it listens on a board, and you have servers just point their logs to there, and it just sends it to them, and it reports back to the console, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And or you can set it up to go out and fetch the logs over SSH. And there was one other way I forget, but anyway, the method I'm testing is fetching the logs over SSH using an SSH key type of deal. But what I like about it, which you can sort of do within Splunk as well, but this one is just purely cloud-based setup, meaning software as a service type of deal in the cloud, where you can actually have nice regular type of expressions to search your data. So I have all these logs coming in, so I can define different. So I have 5 collectors, and each collector have 10 different nodes up under there. So when I write my search query, I can say collector equals whatever I named that collector, nodes equals whatever, right? And I type what type of errors I'm looking for, right? Then it's going to return a list of those errors, and I can actually save my search queries and put alerting on it. So anytime these queries are met, email it to me. It's pretty slick, easy to set up. You can set it up within 5 to 10 minutes. You can have a nice little central logging system. Pretty slick product.
Pretty cool. You guys are also using Graylog as well, which is something that I've recently set up in our environment. It's a central logging server. Yeah. It uses. I was just going to say it uses. There's like 3 main components that I use to install it. Graylog, the Graylog server, the Graylog web interface, Elasticsearch, and Logstash. And Logstash is more or less it does indexing, but you can also do a lot of filtering and a lot of manipulation of your logs and things like that. So if you get logs that are not like in a syslog format, you can use Logstash to kind of change the format, and then you can actually send those to the Graylog server and then use Elasticsearch to actually query and search, use to search the data. So set that up, and all of this is open source, which is one of the cooler things about it, because a lot of these logging systems, the ones that have like some of the functionality a lot of people might want, or it's pretty expensive. I know Splunk is quite expensive once you start getting into enterprise type logging, and you get like lots and lots of data. You can use something like, and it's actually it's actually pretty slick. It'll break it down by host. You can actually, it gives you a nice web interface to where you can select a time period just by kind of clicking and dragging, and then you can take a look at the logs just from that small time period. So it actually does some pretty slick stuff.
Yeah. Yep. I heard some of our teams where I work at, they're using or setting up Graylog. I haven't really had a chance to tie any of our stuff into it, and I'm not sure where that project is. I've read up on it some. One thing I'm looking at too is when you look at cost of ownership of a product, like we talked about how Splunk can start to get pretty expensive and stuff like that. When stuff sits on premise, it gets pretty pricey again, just because you're looking at, it takes money not only to purchase the equipment, but now you have to pay people to manage and support it as well, right? So, I mean, a lot of stuff has to be taken into consideration. So where do you want to spend your money more on, or where do you want your guys spending their time on, right? Do you want them spending more time on managing a setup for infrastructure versus getting in software as a service type of deal? I think you're going to start seeing a lot more business services that's spinning up. I like to give a shout out to Blair with his recent app that him and his team, Blossomy. How you say the company? Is it Blossom?
It's just Blossom.
Blossom?
It's just spelled weird, Blair. BL. I don't know how they got BLOSME and had that sound like Blossom, but I think it's some type of I don't know. It's some type of play on the sound of it or something like that. But it is pronounced Blossom.
Yeah, and they're coming out with a nice suite of business app services, like their latest one that they just came up with, the zip code services. I can see a lot of companies that like to tie that data into who are their users, where they're coming from, and then you can tie that whole piece into CDN type of services, right? So if when people are using CDN and also a geo type of location service, I can say if I have a client that's coming in from here, right, this area, point them to this CDN because that's where they're going to get the faster services from, right? Or point them to my Amazon cloud in the east versus the west. So you'll start seeing more and more business service type of apps that spins up where eventually developers won't have to do too much but focus on the business app itself and just tie their app into all these different APIs of services people have came up with, which saves the company time and money. So, guys, there's a lot of opportunity out there. If you see your company or current project you're working on where you say, man, this would be really nice if it had this, or we don't have to write that, go out and write it, you know, because as you will find out, other companies, other people have that same problem.
Yeah, so, and that's a good point because just in putting together this Graylog server, you know, I spun it up in our private cloud. So I have like one server, one VM running the Graylog and Graylog web interface along with Elasticsearch. And then I have another server running Logstash. Now, you know, that's all fine and dandy, but we actually have a VMware person, you know, that's part of our team. So that's a person right there that had to get, you know, the VMware infrastructure up and running before, you know, I even thought about putting, you know, these servers in there. Before we would have had to, you know, procure 2 physical servers in order to do that, right? So now you got your VMware person. Now, you know, VMware, of course, needs centralized storage or shared storage. So we have, you know, a big NetApp cluster, and we have a guy on our team that does, you know, all NetApp storage. And so that's another piece of it because these logs can tend to get pretty big, so you have to have a big chunk of space, you know, provision for all your logs. So he's needed in that department as well. So, I mean, if you really think about it, there's like 3 guys, even though they're not directly involved in putting up the Graylog server itself or, you know, installing and configuring. They're actually a part of, you know, that project because they each had a hand in, you know, one component of it, you know, a storage guy, the VMware guy, and then, you know, me, you know, putting those pieces together. So that's a very, very good point that you made. It might, you know, for some companies, and you know, developers, like you said, who just they don't want to, you know, have to manage all that or have to, you know, configure all that and everything. Something, you know, SaaS-related login server or SaaS-related application work, you know, it's a lot better suited for them. So, yeah, definitely a good point.
Some exciting technology stuff out there now, and also recommend if you have not yet signed up for your free 1-year Amazon micro instance account, do that. If you don't have cloud experience and you want cloud experience, sign up on Amazon. You get a micro instance that you can spin up for 1 year free. So you get a 1 year free virtual server, and you can learn their interface and all the different services that they offer. And you can start writing scripts to talk to that API to manage that server. So it's a good way to start. At least for 1 year, you get a test server in the cloud. You know, if you want to use it for a web server or whatever you want to install it on, do it. Tear it up, spin up a new one, right? So another little preview. I think we mentioned that before, posted it on the site, but it's another little thing I want to definitely make sure
I still haven't done that. Yeah, definitely. I still haven't done it myself. I need to just go ahead and do it. Break into the game.
Yep. I mean, I remember when I was working over there at Profitability with you, I did it just so I can understand the competition. You know, we were a public cloud provider.
Yeah.
They offered up a free instance. I said, hey, I want to compare the products so I can soundly tell people why we were better. You know, I can actually tell them what they're getting. So I knew the competition product, and I knew our product. So if anything, it's just a good way to learn AWS.
Definitely.
You never know, these companies are going to probably start looking at Amazon. I see Google came out with their public cloud. I need to see if I can get a free instance and go on in there to learn their interface. That'd be pretty slick.
Yeah, what's the name of their public cloud?
I don't even know. I just came across it, I think, last week or the week before. I was like, oh, wow. So
I wonder what
had time to really dig into it.
I wonder what took them so long with getting into that. You know, they pretty much been running clusters forever. I would have thought that they might have been like, you know, some of the first, at least, you know, one of the first people or one of the first companies to offer infrastructure as a service.
Yeah, what you just said it right there. Now that kind of changes their business model, right? Infrastructure as a service. They've been so focused on software as a service and what software they can supply to businesses and stuff, right? Now they jumping into this infrastructure as a service. And if that hits off really well for them, they can have a nice combo, software and infrastructure for businesses. We'll see. Google is definitely here for a while. I mean, has a lot of money and a lot of top-notch talent, and they can come up with some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I think they almost, I mean, I've been reading, I started rereading that In the Plex book, and it's just, man, every time, you know, I just go through that book and I start reading, it amazes me, like it, you know, how they, you know, kind of view, but it's like every problem that they encounter, or every problem that they, you know, want to solve, they solve it with, you know, engineering and mathematics, man. And they get the best of the best to come and work on a problem. Something that seems that we take for granted, you know, something like search. You know, they put their top engineers on, you know, on that problem, you know, and it's just,
I mean, when I look at it with Google, man, they are trying to define or be a part of defining the future. They're trying to put a dent in the universe as, who was that? Steve Jobs said he always wanted to put a dent in the universe, and he's done that. But you have Google, they started off with data and defining the way we access it, right? Now they're starting to take a lot of the talent and put it towards the physical part of things as well, right? Whether it's how to drive or how cars are going to navigate the roads. And they just combined the two now, physical and virtual, right?
Yeah.
Physical and data, I mean, they have a lot of top talent.
Yep. So what else is new? What else is going on? What new conferences are coming up?
Well, you know, the TechCrunch conference is going on right now. I was looking at some of the live feeds today, seeing some of the companies talking about their ideas that they want to do and how they're going to do it. One of them was a music venue, how they promote local artists and stuff. Seemed pretty cool, you know. Then they had a bunch of venture capitalists and other techies drilling them on different concepts and what they think was different. Another one was, what was it? It was one about saving, how to save money. It was called like Instant Save or something like Impulse Save, where if you have this impulse of going out and buy things, you're able to click your mobile app or scan this device and say, instead of me buying this, put this money in this savings account. And the impulse savings account is FDIC approved and is connected with your banks, and then you get interest and stuff like that, right? So it helps you. It's pretty much trying to help you plan and manage your money better. If you're not good at putting it in a spreadsheet and budgeting correctly, they kind of digitalized it, made it a mobile app type of platform. I can see some people using it, and instead of you been out at the store, spend that $15 on there, you transfer that money into your savings account, and they kind of send you these data boy notifications, like, good job, you're 30% closer to your vacation that you really wanted to go on versus buying these new pair of shoes. So that was pretty slick. And there's a couple other ones. As I had time throughout the day at work, I would hop in and see what people were talking about. VMworld just came through here. There was a lot of people down from my walking around downtown. I worked probably less than 10 minutes away from where they was hosting VMworld, so there's a ton of people on the streets. But I seen Black Founders actually had a little one-day conference or something.
Yeah, it was
go to
Ideas Are Worthless conference. Big shout out to them. They've done it in a few, major cities. I think they've New York, Atlanta, San Fran. I'm hoping they'll bring one to the Midwest, maybe Chicago. So I'll drive up and attend that. But yeah, it's actually a pretty cool conference. They have some people set up as mentors for people who are minority people that are wanting to get into startups or to pitch their ideas or help them pitch their ideas or whatever. So it's a real good organization. I know Nina met Chris, know Hadia, part of, and what's her name, Monique, I think that's as well. So met all of them at South by Southwest this year, and always trying to support their efforts. So if they any of them listen to this, bring one of those to bring one of those to the Midwest. We need something like that. I'm kind of upset I missed that. I found out about it too late. I was just on meetup.com trying to see what events were going on in the Bay Area since I'm living out here now. And I thought, what about Black Founders? And when I looked them up, they was having an event the following day. I just didn't have enough time to plan to go and stuff and schedule time off work. But I definitely would like to reach out to them and link up with that whole group while I'm out here. So, yeah, definitely.
That'd be pretty cool. DerbyCon is coming up. I just heard that it's sold out, though. I was actually looking at getting a plane ticket to fly back out to the Midwest, to Louisville, and went to the DerbyCon site, and they completely sold out. They said they may release a few more tickets as the date gets closer, but that means plane tickets would get cost a lot more.
Way more expensive.
Yeah,
wow.
So if I can do it now, I can save a few $100, but I'm not trying to be an impulse buyer of a plane ticket.
DerbyCon is a security hackers conference that goes on in Louisville, Kentucky. The first annual one was last year, 2011, and now this is the second one that they've thrown.
Nice.
Last year, yeah, and what surprised me is how big the conference, how many participants, for a first-time conference. And that's mainly because the guys who are involved with it are already, they're pretty well known, like Iron Geek, or his name's Adrian Crenshaw. He's already pretty big. Yeah, they're pretty big staples in security world. He was involved in that too.
Yeah, actually, Kevin McNick gave a little.
Well, no, he gave a speech. I didn't know he was actually part of that whole DerbyCon thing. I thought he just get to talk there. But so yeah, that it's going to be. I anticipated, being even more packed than it was last year. Last year, like I said, it was the first annual one, and now that it's pretty much got a huge buzz, I can guarantee you it's going to be just nuts this year. So yeah, exactly. And they still, there's a couple of weeks until it's the weekend of the 28th. But yeah, some conferences period, go all the way up until a week until, the conference, and not even get sold out, and this one, I don't know how long it's been sold out, but I mean, that's just a testament in itself of how big that conference actually has gotten. So, I'll definitely be in attendance there. Of course, I'll be, performing with dual core, so that's what, that's why I'll be there pretty much. What else? Any other conferences? Actually, that same week, the Ohio Linux Fest is going to be going on. I wonder how that's going to impact. Ohio Linux Fest is going to...
Ohio Linux Fest is probably one of the biggest Linux fests going on for a while. And I think it's been like the last 3 years, it just hasn't been as good as what it used to be, and I think a lot of that is due to the people who run it has changed. And you have, I don't know, it's just not the same anymore,
It's not, you know what? I think self is taking over.
Yeah. And I was still going just because I met a lot of people, and it was a good time to meet up with them on a yearly basis to see what was going on. But everyone that I know, we all are starting to say, I'd much rather be going somewhere else. And now that they're competing with DerbyCon, I think all the cool people going to DerbyCon. Yeah, they might think about changing that into earlier in the summer or something like that. I think Self has surpassed Ohio Linux Fest now as the Linux Fest to go to if you want to go to one. Southeast Linux Fest. They did it right because they kind of combined with a couple other areas and said, hey, let's just have one big one versus have all these different ones. Like I think Atlanta tried. It was Atlanta was doing one, and also
Atlanta, Florida.
In Florida, and like maybe it was in South Carolina or something. But they always said, hey, let's just combine it and voila, right?
Yeah. Plus, on top of that, they've got a bigger audience as well because Dave Yates from a lot of Linux Links. He does a podcast called Lot of Linux Links. He is, I think he pretty much founded it, him and a couple other people. And when you have like an audience as big as his Lot of Linux Links audience is, I mean, it's easy to get the word out, and it's easy to get people to attend, especially if they like your podcast. So I don't think they have that with Ohio Linux Fest. I don't think they had that type of outlet. So
yeah, well, the guys who ran it before the people who's running it now, they had decent connections. That's how they got Mad Dog, right?
Oh, okay.
Start coming and participating, and I mean, they was getting some good talks in.
Oh yeah.
But now it's, I don't know, the talks is not as strong as what they used to be, or not as hobbyist as it used to be either. You know, like even the booths has gotten pretty weak, and the swag. They don't have no more swag either. I go to these cons to get T-shirts and stuff, and everyone's been stingy. You know? Yeah,
a lot of people are going there trying to sell a bunch of merch, a bunch of books, things like that.
Like, I'm just sitting in your booth like, you got a T-shirt?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think those are only ones that this year that I think I'll be attending. There is going to be, they're actually trying to resurrect the Cincy 2600.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, a lot of the old members, man. So it's funny because they sent out a thing on on Google groups, and they had Vom on there, and I was like, oh man, I'm all gung ho. If Vom was gonna go, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
And I missed it. It was like Friday. I totally forgot about it.
Mm-hmm. Did
So
they have it at the Hive?
You know what? I don't know where they actually. I don't know where they had it actually, because I was thinking like when he was talking about it and sending out these messages, I didn't think it was going to be that soon, so I kind of didn't focus in on what the date was, and then I go back and I check my emails, my Gmail today, and I'm like, oh man, that was this Friday. I just missed it. So yeah. So.
I think all 2600 meetings across the country usually happens the first Friday of the month. I know when I moved here, I looked at where they host the 2600 meetings here. I think I'm definitely going to try to attend at least a couple of those. Just because that's where you find some of your smartest people, your hardcore security people at 2600. That's where we met up a few times. First we met at the Ohio Linux Fest, but then we linked up a few times at the 2600 meetings, and met some cool people through there. I'm interested to see the hackers out here in the Bay Area.
Oh yeah, they probably got pretty. Yeah, that one thing. One of the reasons I stopped, like when they had the Ohio 2600 before, one thing I was really trying to get into more of the security stuff, but before it seemed like they were working. They did a lot of presentations, but it seemed like they would also help you work on projects. And as that stopped, kind of stopped happening, that's when I kind of lost interest in it. It didn't seem like the same type of format. It kind of changed a little bit, and a lot of people just stopped coming. So I'm hoping that with this, when they revive it, it's kind of bring a little bit, bring back a little bit more of that, kind of learning type of environment as opposed to just getting together just to drink beers type things. I can do that anywhere, anytime.
So you got to look at the rotation of people who is presenting. Sometimes the content gets old and there's nothing to present, and it's like, hey, let's just link up, drink beer, and if we bring up a subject, let's talk about it. Sometimes we just open formats are pretty cool if people can say, hey, let's work on this, or let's do that. There's a lot of cool stuff. And the field of security is so huge, man. You have to pick something and learn it. If you want to do forensics, if you want to do malware analysis, which sort of kind of goes with forensics, but if you want to do web application security, SQL injections, all all types of stuff. So you just got to pick something and go with it. And when you attend those meetings, see what people are talking about. You try to include yourself in these conversations. And, I mean, it's hard to know everything, but you surround yourself around people who know these things or that can kind of give you a tip in which direction to go or get you over a hump or issues that you're working on. I know since I deal a lot with web apps and stuff, I try to kind of familiarize myself with application type of security issues that you may come across. So I've been playing with, I think I sent you a link to a vulnerable app that you can set up on your local system to test like SQL injections and cross-site scripting type of stuff. It's called WebGo. A good site, a good site to go to is OWASP, right? To see, they can point you to a lot of different web application security tools, concepts, and stuff. I think it's like, what is it? Open Web Application Security Project. That's what that stands for. But what's pretty cool is you putting a proxy between your browser and an app and just clicking around it, right, to see how it interacts with the database and what different type of calls that's being made, and see if you can manipulate those calls or differences. You're in a form, right, and you hit submit, and you're going to see if you can break that communication and insert your own data and see what type of responses you get. I mean, there's just so much stuff you can do and have fun with. And just play in your own little environment, you know, just hack around and figure this stuff out. And when you're at work and you want to play in your staging environment and see what security holes that you can find in your own apps, it's pretty cool. So...
And that's WebGo, right, that does that?
Yeah, so WebGo is the vulnerable app. It's a Java app, so you got to set up Tomcat and stuff. But actually, if you download, they have two different type of installs. You can set up your own Tomcat and deploy the war file and get it running, or you can download this whole package, which actually have Tomcat and everything that you need, and you just run the script, and then we'll start Java and everything for you, right? And you just access the web app through your browser. But the proxy that I'm using to play around with is called ZAP, Z-A-P, which you can find on the OWASP website as well. So you download this proxy, and then you will point your browser to your local proxy running on your local laptop. And then once you do that, you access the app and start figuring out different hacks. They actually have a lesson plan that you can walk through, and they tell you the challenge, what you're trying to do, whether it's a SQL injection or whatever. So, pretty cool. Yeah.
I'll have to mess around with that.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I think we've run pretty long. It's like an hour 20-something minutes into it. I think we're going to wrap this podcast up for this evening. Man, we got a lot to talk about still. So definitely tune in, for another podcast in which we just, talk about random tech-related stuff. I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank Ronnie for joining me on this podcast, and we'll see everybody next time.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Greg. It's always a pleasure doing a podcast with you, and I think you continuing to do a great job with running the site and the community, pulling people together is definitely looking to be a great resource for African Americans in the technology field. Pulling a lot of geeks together, a lot of entrepreneurs together, and just having a voice that shows that we are geeks too, And it's, again, like we always talked about, it's not about separation. It's about inclusion. It's about us having mentors and having a place to go to have a chance in this field of technology. We have a lot of bright people out there, and it's good to get them recognized. So thanks again for all the work you keep doing, man. Keep doing it.
Thank you. Until next time, everybody, take care.
Yeah. Bye.
Blacks in technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.